Hi, I'm Sarah and welcome to the Sprouting Homestead. Today we're in my office/grow room. I had to sacrifice some space to get my shelf set up so that I can get my seeds started for the upcoming garden season. I'm just going to walk you through my setup, everything that I use, how you know what seeds to start indoors, which you can direct sow outside, where I get my seeds from, the soil that I use, everything that you need to know to get starting seeds indoors on your own. So maybe you're wondering, why am I going to go through the trouble of starting my seeds indoors? I could just put that seed outside in the dirt and it's going to grow. Yes, for some things it will. And this is also super dependent on your growing season. I am in a very cold climate with a very short growing season. So there's certain things that if I don't start them indoors months ahead of time, there is not enough time for that plant to reach full maturity and for me to even have a harvest from that. Things that I need to start indoors are like peppers, tomatoes, onions if I'm doing them from seed, certain herbs, certain flowers. Today I'm doing thyme, rosemary, sage, oregano, parsley, loofah. Certain squashes I also like to start indoors because if I don't, they will not reach maturity. Last year when we first moved into this house in the spring, I didn't have a good opportunity to start my seeds indoors before we moved because we moved right before garden season began and I just wasn't sure what was going to happen that year. I didn't want to start a whole bunch of seeds indoors, plant them in our old house, and then have to leave all of that behind. So I did a lot of direct sowing last year and I did direct sow butternut squash, which grew like crazy. But by the time harvest season was done, I had squash that was just like itty bitty and it didn't even come to full maturity yet. Had I started that seed indoors a couple weeks, maybe even a month earlier, that would have given me full mature butternut squash. So yes, there's certain things. Carrots, I always direct sow, beets, lettuce, potatoes. Some stuff like that can just be thrown in the dirt and left to be. Beans, peas, I always direct sow, but there's big advantages to starting some seeds indoors. So obviously the first thing we're going to need to get going on this is seeds. So I like to order mine from Vessi Seed. It's just a Canadian company, but wherever you get your seeds is totally fine. I've even had good success with just getting dollar store seeds. Whatever you can afford, whatever is available to you will work just fine. So I have these two shelves behind me and I thrifted one of them and I bought the other one new. They're just a simple like greenhouse shelf. They're nothing too expensive, nothing extraordinary, but that's what I have right now. I also have a couple shelves in the basement that I've utilized as grow shelves, but those are just those click and put together plastic shelves, nothing fancy there either. So I also have zip tied some grow lights onto these shelves so that my plants get the light that they need. When looking for lights for your grow shelf or your plants, the only thing you want to look for is that they say full spectrum. You can get the cheapest or the most expensive light that works for you, just as long as they are a full spectrum light, because that's going to mimic the outdoor sunlight and that's what we want to grow our tall, strong plants. So we have our shelves and the lights. The other thing that I would recommend, but it's not totally necessary, is these seed starting heating mats. So you just plug these in and they get warm because our seeds like a warm environment and it helps speed up germination. If this is not something that's in your budget, you don't have to worry about it. Just make sure that your seeds have somewhat of a warm place to germinate. So now we need something to start our seeds in. I just like to use a simple organic seed starting mix. I just get this from the hardware store. There's a lot of recipes out there if you want to try and make your own seed starting mix, but this is the easiest option for me, and this has worked really well for a couple years. It stays moist, but it also dries out in between watering, which is what we're looking for. Now we have our shelves, lights, heating mats, soil, but we need something to put our seeds in. So if you go to the hardware store, you're probably going to see shelves of all different kinds of pots and seed starting kits and everything, and it can be really overwhelming and really confusing to figure out which seeds to put in which pots. So there's also been years that I've used just red solo cups to start all of my seeds, and I've had good success with that. It was either free or super cheap. I just grabbed them from the dollar store or used what I had, so that's an option for you as well. So this is a 72 cell tray, and these are relatively small. So if I was to plant a tomato in there or a pepper, I would most likely have to up pot that multiple times before it even made it out the door and into the garden. So I'm going to use a smaller tray like this for more slow growing plants like lettuce, basil, maybe some different types of flowers and stuff that just doesn't grow big in a short amount of time. If I'm going to grow my peppers and my tomatoes, I'm going to opt for a container like this because it's going to give it enough room for those roots to grow without becoming root bound, and maybe I only need to up pot this once before it goes out into the garden. I almost forgot, the last thing that you're going to want to have strong, healthy plants is airflow. And you're gonna just want to set up a fan. Sometimes you can get fans that will clip in here. I just use the fans that I have laying around the house. So I just set one up in front of the tent and make sure that it is blowing on those fans. You want good air circulation to avoid any mold, any fungus and stuff in there. It also helps to mimic the natural wind that they will experience once they are outside. So it's going to make those plants stronger because they have the chance to move around. The roots are getting stronger from that wind from the fan blowing on them. So just make sure you have a fan. It can be the cheapest fan ever. You don't have to buy anything expensive for that. So now we need to figure out which seeds we are going to start indoors, which we're going to start outdoors. And that's as simple as reading the back of our seed packets. So this is an organic squash seed, and this just says to start 3 to 4 weeks indoors before your last frost. So that's all you need to know is your last frost date. Simply look that up and you can time out when to start these seeds indoors. This is my tomato seed, and these need to be started 6 to 8 weeks before my last frost date. So I'm still going to hold out on both of these for a while. I wish I could be starting these seeds outdoors today, but it is freezing cold and there is so much snow outside. So I've set myself up a little area to get these seeds planted so I can get them under my grow lights. When starting your seeds, it's good to start with moist soil. I like to put mine in a container and just add some water to it. It should be wet enough to hold together but still fall apart. I use this container for all of my pepper seeds. This year I'm doing green peppers, yellow peppers, cayenne peppers, orange peppers, and jalapeno peppers. Now it's time to get those seeds planted, so I'm going to go through and get all of my trays filled with soil. I fill them right to the top, but make sure I don't pack them down too much. We don't want the soil to be too compacted that those roots can't even make it through. So now I'm just planting my cayenne pepper seeds. When I plant my seeds, I like to plant 2 per cell. 2 plants cannot grow in each of these cells, but this just gives me a backup in case the germination rate of these seeds is not great, so I know at least one of these will sprout. If both of them do, I will have to thin it out. I might just put one in another pot, so I'll have 2 cayenne pepper plants. So this is everything that I planted today, a little bit more than what I planned. I actually got some celery planted and a few extra herbs, but these will start sprouting in a couple weeks, maybe even a few days. So that's everything that I have started. Now, that is a small fraction of what I'm actually growing this year, but the rest of it will be started in March and then a little bit more in April. So hopefully by then the weather is nicer. I can pot up my seeds outside so I don't have a mess of dirt in the house, but for now we got those going, which is really exciting. It's really exciting to get the first seeds planted because I know that spring is coming and it has been a long cold winter. So everything else that I still need to start, I'm gonna do corn, tomatoes, pumpkins, lettuce, cabbage, butternut squash, cucumbers, calendula, sunflowers, zinnia flowers, marigolds, straw flower, cosmos. What else am I doing? Dill, mint, basil, and I think that's it. But I'm super excited for garden season to start. I'll take you along with me while these guys start growing and while I finish planting all the rest of these over the next couple months. And then I'm so excited to be able to show you our garden tour this year because we made a whole new garden. We have to put the fence around it. It's gonna be super fun. And a lot of these flowers that I am growing and still have to grow, I'm actually attempting to grow all of the flowers for our wedding this September. So wish me luck in that. I hope I can show you the finished project in September. But thank you so much for coming along with me today. Bye!